his bones.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Boom. This one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will be taking a look at Superman from the Justice League Task Force wave. Now, pretty interesting the way this wave has come about because it is going to be a wave based on a video game. So the figures do have cell shading that is supposed to be representing the pixelated, digitized version of these heroes. Now, first things first, you did see a lot of negativity directly focused on this wave. Now, I do get that because if this isn't for you, it just isn't for you. That would be like a lot of things that McFarlane releases, like the black and white versions and the Jokerized versions. I just think that that's really how you should sort of take these releases that you're not interested in. If you don't really see yourself being persuaded to purchase these, or they're just not your cup of tea, then that is perfectly fine. There is going to be collectors that want to pick these up, especially if you're a disgusting completist, as I am. Now, getting that out of the way, when I saw these and saw the promo pictures and the images released by McFarlane, I remember just being, giving about as much emotions as I can. If you want to check that, check out the emotions chart, and you'll see that I basically said, whatever. And I didn't really think about it. I didn't pre order them. Just, no bones to me. I just didn't really make a big deal about it. Now, I did come across these at GameStop, and seeing them in the package in hand, I went ahead and picked them up. Now, this Superman was reduced price, so I was like, I might as well go ahead and start it off in a discounted way and go ahead and pick this one up. Now, I have my own reasons for checking out this figure. I know a lot of people are buying these, pretty much planning on removing all of the pixelation and the extra paint and making your standard versions of Superman and Batman from these. I'm just very hesitant to do anything like that. The main reason being that I am sure McFarlane is going to take this same exact mold, even the head sculpt, and probably re release it as a 90s version of Superman. So I'm just not going to really waste my time in repainting and removing anything. Now, if that's what you want to do and you want to pick up an extra one of these to repaint and get your definitive version of Superman, go ahead. I definitely have no problem with that. Go ahead and knock yourself out. Now, as for me, when I did see this finally in hand, there was one, little thing I wanted to do that we'll take a look at the end of this video, because that is something I was planning to do when I first saw the head sculpt from this Superman. Now, he does look pretty invulnerable in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stamp. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also have his data file card. Now, there are a ton of platinums that are coming with these. McFarlane did kind of go buck wild, and I know there's alternate versions, energized versions, red and yellow. I don't even really know what's going on, but I did see that, in the interwebs that people were starting to see the platinums. Now, this image of Superman that is based on the style of the heroes from the Task Force game, which of course also includes Darksied, I just had one thought, and I really think McFarlane kind of like overthought this, but at the same time, he does want to, squeeze as much profit as he can out of these figures. But I really think they should have just released these digitized video game versions of the characters, and the platinums should have been the way they are rendered in in the card art, because if you look at the back of the package, there's artwork that represents the characters in the video game, but they're done more in a comic book style. So I think it really would have just been simple and sweet. Release the regular versions as the pixelated video game style, and the platinums would be just removing all of that excess paint and making them your standard superhero versions. But that's not what they went with. So now everybody's, going crazy for the platinum. So let's see how that works out. But as for me, I'll take my time in procuring those. It's not a big deal. Now on the back, you do have a lot of information on Kal-El, the Man of Steel, aka Clark Kent. So we'll hold on to this, add it to the collection. Now he does come with a slight bit of accessories, basically being two energy effects that are represented from the game. These are like when he's throwing punches, and don't know really too much about the game, but I could just imagine these are like on his fist when he's throwing punches. So pretty cool. They do have some openings there where you can slide the fists in there. Now, luckily, although we don't get the alternate hands, we do get two fists, which was very smart from McFarlane. Now, of course, this body book is based on the Earth 2 Superman from the Crisis Wave. Now, everybody really loves this body book, but you do have the alternate hands that are sort of open hands that they could have added with this figure. But for some reason, it doesn't irk me as much as it usually does. Reason being because another thing you do get is the two legs for the video game version of Darksied. Now, this represents more of how he looks in the comics with darker skin and that kind of navy blue, dark blue, almost purple costume. So pretty cool. I will be looking forward to building this Darksied, and for some reason, all the regular figures, I'm not a big fan of the cell shading, but I do think it really works on the Darksied. But we'll have to wait until we assemble him and take a look at him in hand. But we'll hold on to these. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at this guy. Now, first impressions, as I said, this is going to be very quick and simple, and that is because it is pretty much your perfect Superman body book. Everything is correct on this figure. The only thing is that, of course, it has that cell shading representing the video game, and that's pretty much going to ruin it for a lot of collectors. Now, for me, I'm thinking it more that I'm going to have my Darksied displayed with these heroes around him for a showcase display purpose. So it doesn't really bother me. I'm not going to waste my time removing the paint or doing anything like that. The main reason being that I know, like 98% sure, McFarlane will release this again without the cell shading. So until that time comes, I'm just going to enjoy this guy. Now, besides the cell shading, it is a very nice figure if you're looking at it through a collector's eye, because I said you want these to match together and represent the video game. But if you're just a random consumer, I could see people seeing this and kind of being like, well, like, what is this? What's going on? Did the factory mess up all the paint? Or what is this? But I think a smart thing to do maybe is to buy a couple of these and just hold on to it in the slim chance that McFarlane never releases anything like this again. Then I'll go ahead and do a repaint. But for now, I'm just going to bide my time. But what I am definitely interested in is that head sculpt. I love that glorious mullet. It is almost perfection. For me, it really blows away the mullet Superman we received with the collector's edition. This one is far superior. Really looks more comic accurate than that first attempt. So that is basically one of the details on this figure that I really, really like, is that head sculpt. Take a closer look at it. Oof, that hair just So full and bouncy and wavy. Really nice portrayal of a mullet head Superman. And the square jaw and everything really works well to make this like a comic style 90s version of Superman. The hair even has a little bit of purple shade in there that's really light. You can see it in certain angles, you could really see it, that purple highlight. Really a nice head sculpt. I'm really happy with that, which is, one of the best things of the entire figure. Taking a look at the articulation, he does look down really well. Can't look up too well, and that is basically because of the mullet, but you can lean him back a little bit to get him to look up, as well as you could probably mod this and get a couple of extra millimeters of range looking up. You do that right to left, and of course, you could tilt his head for some attitude. Really, the head sculpt is what I find interesting on this figure. I mean, the cell shading kind of kills it for me, even though it's not a deal breaker for me, but this is like a style. This is definitely a very stylized and peculiar figure, but it is executed pretty well. Now, articulation the same. You got that nice waist articulation, lean them back. You got the shoulder, which has that socket and bushy shoulder joint, which gives you a lot of range movement. Lower body, you got the legs, you got some thigh swivel there, which allows you to move the boot from side to side. Knee articulation, definitely there, ratcheting. You got the nice ankle movement. Everything we've come to expect from McFarlane. Really, really adding to the posability of this figure. Take a look at the back. Pretty nice. They did paint the back part of the belt, so that's nice. And you go into this cloth wired cape. Really nice cape, allows you to get him into so many poses, especially for figure photography. It's just something that really raises these figures to another level. Although, of course, this exact version is probably not what you're looking for. But as I said, well designed figure nonetheless. You got the two fists that really make it easy to pose and get into some action poses. I had a lot of fun doing figure photography with this one. And that's one of the main fun factors that you're going to have with this figure, because it's definitely not your typical Superman. It is a certain image of Superman from the video game. So definitely not going to be for everybody. Definitely going to be a niche market that wants this guy. But like I said, I do have ulterior motives in what I want to do with him. Now, he is based on this beautiful Earth 2 Superman. Of course, this is my head swapped version. But you can see how this should be one of the most definitive body bugs that they use for Superman. I would even go as far as to say they could use them for some other characters, because the proportions and the aesthetics are done just really, really well. As far as height goes, I'm going to bring out the black and gray version of Hush Batman, because everybody knows that that is a really tall Batman. But as you can see, this Superman is even slightly taller than the Batman, so that's really good as far as scale goes. You'll definitely be able to scale him with a lot of the Batman that we have received from McFarlane. So that's always a positive. Now, as I said, you can put those energy effects on him, get him in some cool poses. That was one of the main things about this figure. I wasn't really excited to get him. I really wanted the head sculpt, but I knew what I was getting into with the cell shading. But he is very photogenic. I can't take that away from him. I did have a lot of fun doing different setups and poses, and he looks really good in each photo. But now we'll get into what I really wanted him for. And of course, that is my regeneration suit, Superman. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been working on this Superman for up to 2 years. Originally, he just had his suit. The main thing I was happy about was I got to paint the little silver caps on his shoes, which was like a detail that they miss a lot of time when they make regeneration suit Superman. I originally had this head, which is the bearded long hair, but when they released the collector's edition of Superman, I went ahead and did the head swap for a more mullet looking Superman. But for some reason, I just felt when I saw the images of this Task Force Superman that the head was going to fit perfectly. As I said before, he was just plain. He didn't have his armament that a lot of people suggested for me to add. So I did look at some reference from the comics and even from other figure lines, and I made my own little Kryptonian attachments that he has on his body, as well as adding the guns that he uses when he's at a lower level of power, when he's in his regeneration state. And now the coup de grace that I waited months to do this, and it was definitely worth the wait. So I took off that head sculpt and I popped on this task force head. And just as I expected, it really takes this regeneration suit to another level. Love this now. This is probably the way I'm going to keep him until I could get another Superman to replace this one. But as always, if I want to do photos or anything like that, I could just head swap. Now, normally what you could do with this is get this Task Force Superman head and try it on a bunch of different Supermans to give you different looks. But there's two main reasons why I'm not going to do that. The first main reason is that I'm not a big loony like that guy from 5 Points of Articulation. That guy really takes it to extremes with head swaps. I mean, some head swaps are good, but he does it just to do it and really makes some nightmare fuel that I don't really think should be allowed for humanity. So I like doing head swaps, but when they make sense. And number two is because I just don't really like supporting lunacy. So this is the only head swap I'm going to do is that Task Force head onto my regeneration custom Superman suit with the guns, with the Kryptonian attachments, and I think it came out very nicely. So, anyways, guys, pretty nice figure for customizing and display, but definitely not going to be for your average collector. Now, I do want to take a look at the rest of the wave. Aside from making some topic videos, I'll probably be taking a look at Aquaman next. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.